So I streamed an overhead view of Tooniverse versus Sugar Bears, or no diving, my bad, and Spicy of Tooniverse wanted my feedback. So I'm not going to go over each play. You did this wrong, Oonga Boonga. You should have done that. But instead, focus on a general concept that I think a lot of teams in Splatoon don't really get or don't know that they need to understand, and that is positioning. So I'm going to go show just a few examples from two different games here of how positioning can be improved and how bad positioning affects everything. And I'm also going to show you examples of how to actually sit down with your team and game plan for positioning. It is worth noting, I do know a lot of people on the side of no diving. However, none of those players asked me for my feedbacks, and I'm not big on giving people unsolicited advice. So I'm not going to give anything, I'm not going to comment on anything no diving does specifically. Instead, this is all going to be from the perspective of Tooniverse. And keep this kind of position. I pause it here for a reason. Um, the main thing I want to look at here is that we have two Slayers pushed way up into the bait. You can't see the Junior, but the Junior is down here in zone, and the Hydra is back on the plat. So let's kind of look at that to begin with. So this is Sindao.inc. On it, they have this map planner thing where you can pretty much pick any map, and it's actually been updated since the last time I used it with our team. So it took me a minute to kind of get used to these fancy features, but you can basically just sit down and think about all the different things in different ways that you position your guys. So I have your comp here. The screenshot, you got a guy right here, you got this dude right here, this dude right here, and this dude right here. So, and you are currently in a lockout phase or in a lockout position. So basically, you have control of zone and you're looking to lock out the other team so that you can just KO them. In order to do that, you got to sit here and think, okay, what are the key areas that we need to control in order to complete this lockout? And that is where you start to decide where you need to position people. In my humble opinion, a key area to control is their fan, obviously this plat right here, and this window ledge here so that you can't get any flanks coming across. So how do you cover those three areas? Obviously, you got your Slayers up here, you got your Junior here. Your Slayers up here can control this area. Your Juniors right here to control this. Your backline or Hydra is here to control this. The issue with this is each one of these groups is only doing one thing. They're not really working together. Like everybody has their own set area that they're controlling. Instead, if you were to take this guy and put him right on the fan, all of a sudden, this person who is just helping keep control of this fan in mid can now actively support this area up here, can still keep an eye on this flank coming through here. If there was a fight that they need to engage in up on the plat, they can help the Slayers by moving up here and engaging in a fight. This person is instantly much more active and much more connected to everybody else by being right here. Now, the anchor weapon right here, the Hydra, again, is currently only watching this flank, which is good. That's what you want your backliner to do. You want your backliner to watch for flanks. But this thing doesn't have the range to be attacking or helping any of these guys right here. So instead, a better position would be either move right here, where you can once again, let me delete stuff first before I move people. Move right here, where you can still keep an eye on the flank and actively attack and help your Slayers up front here. Or, even better yet, moving right here, where once again, you can still actively support your Slayers and watch the flank. Let's see. The other thing, so like this is instantly a much better position. All four players are, it's not that all four players are close together. It's that all four players are in position to control and help with the areas that you guys want to control, which once again we just established is here, here, and here. So all four players actively working together to control that. This is how you KO guys with this kind of thing right here. Um, and the last thing I do want to kind of point out is a reason teams kind of struggle with this kind of positioning is that they think, um, well, let's look. This is the position that Tooniverse is currently in. A lot of teams think, well, I'm a frontliner, so that means front line needs to be up here, or I'm a midline, and this is where the middle is, so I need to be here, or I'm a back line, so that means that this is the back area, so this is the area I'm supposed to be. No, like those terms kind of suck. I mean, they get the point across, but teams take the word line way too literally. You're not a frontliner. You're a slayer. You're a support. You're an anchor. You have a list of roles, and roles are fluid. If you take this CDS out of the picture, does that mean you can't? That you got to retreat because you're a midline? No, you're a support. You're still up here. You can fight these battles. If it's a 3v3 still, and all these players are still connected, then losing the CDS sucks. Yeah, but you can still kind of keep control of all the areas you want to keep control of. Just three guys. And then maybe you lose this other guy. Then maybe you want to start thinking, okay, maybe let's give up this plat, but can we still keep control of this fan as we're starting to back up so that we don't die as well. But let's kind of take a look back at the film and see how this actually works out as far as positioning goes. Now, once again, the positioning was not what we talked about. You still got these two slayers up here by themselves. Japanida way overextending here. Is this Japanida's fault that he's overextending? Yes. Is it on every other teammate's fault that Japanida is overextending? In my opinion, yes, because if people were in the position that we were talking about, you had the junior right here, they're in a better position to help keep Japanida alive. If Serenity wasn't as far away, which I get why Serenity's like, we don't need to be all the way up here, so I'm just going to leave you. But the VC should probably be like, hey, Japanida, either you come back or we need to go to you or something like that. But since Japanida is by themselves, they die. And this death here, since the junior wasn't here to support, since the backline or the anchor wasn't here to help keep control of this area so that people didn't have to worry about it, they die. And this person dying is huge. It's very huge. It's the exact reason why you lose the zone. So I'm going to talk real briefly. We talked about what you do during the lockout phase. How do you break through a lockout phase? Which is something you need to game plan as well, what your positioning for that is. For my team specifically, we have three kind of steps that we go through. Number one is survive, as I write with my horrible handwriting. My R and V have combined to make an N right there. So let's just say survive. And what this means is have as many people live as you can, or wait for your people to respond so that you have as many, if not more, players live than the opposing team. Number two, get a pick. Kill at least one player if you can without having to burn one of your specials to do so. And number three is use your specials to get control of zone. Now, is this the only way to break out of a lockout? No, but with my team in particular, at the skill level we play at, we find this is the best way to just break out of a lockout in any mapper mode. Any map pertaining to splat zones. The hardest thing we found is getting this pick, because a lot of times you'll get this pick, but it costs you guys alive. So it's like a trade, or you need to use a special to get it. So getting this pick without using a special or losing a life is huge, and is almost a guarantee that you're going to find a way to get the zone back unless you just completely screw up. So look here, Japanida dies, right? Even though, and this Brell is coming back to life. So even though you just lose one player, you will eventually lose control of zone. You see this splashdown coming in from the right side. You see baller getting built up. You see bubbles getting built up. Hammers getting built up. And look at this. Look at this. Even though Japanada respawned, jumped back in the action, killed Salem before the splashdown could go down, you still lose control of zone, even though you got 4v3 here. Why? It's because Japanada dying gave them the position to build up all these specials, and they used the specials to control the zone. Bubbles coming out here, Hammer coming out here. Baller doesn't get popped. I don't know why. I think they pop it eventually. Now, of course, you do eventually get back control of zone. I don't know how you managed to do that. You only got 2 people alive, and they still have a special to go with. But the point being, the reason why you didn't get the KO here and why they were able to get control of zone is because you gave up that one pick back here. And the reason Japanada dies is because the positioning of the entire team is poo-poo. So there you go. Just a general concept of how positioning works. The other one I want to point out is this tower control game on Art Academy. So once again, game planning for Art Academy, or tower control in particular, I think is a lot more fun. So if you look at this map here, and I hope this kind of shows up good on the capture. I don't really know if it does or not. But you got your checkpoints here. These pinkish ones are the enemy checkpoints, i.e. where you're pushing the tower. These green ones are your checkpoints, i.e. where you need to defend. And these are like just squares I put in, obviously. These might not be 100%, like maybe the zone's a little bit, checkpoints like a little bit more higher up, or this one's over here. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But basically, where do you want to position yourselves for each checkpoint? So like as you're approaching this first checkpoint, who's going to be riding tower for you guys? I would suggest your support player do it, but you might want somebody else. It's up to you. You might want your CDS pushing here. You might want your Neo machine attacking this slick area here. Excuse me, Chef Boyardee trying to come back up. You got your backliner here possibly. And again, everybody's working together in this position, because what is the area you would want to control? In my opinion, you want to get control of this area up here. You want to start working your way to getting control of this area here. And if you can get up here, you do, because this area is critical. And obviously you want to be able to watch behind the tower. You basically just want to have the area around the tower painted, because that's what matters the most. Same thing with defense, because pushing the tower is extremely easy. Defending the tower is very difficult. So how do we want to position ourselves to defend when the enemy is at the first checkpoint, when they're at the second one, when they're at the third? And again, that kind of starts with the concept of, well, what area do we need to have control of? What's the most important areas? For me specifically, I think your anchor needs to be able to control this area right here, especially with something like a Hydra, because you stick your Hydra right here, they can do a lot as far as attacking this checkpoint, attacking somebody who tries to come up the flank, and attacking people who come up this box over here on the left. I.e., this is something you need to figure out on your own as your team. But positioning as a whole is important to starting a push and ending a push. So let's look. Am I at the right spot? No. There's one particular spot. Here it is. Here it is. Let's play right here-ish. So there are 3 players. So this is a 4v3. I paused it right before the Vanilla Pro responded here. So you got Kiwi right here alive. You got your backliner trying to get back into the action. I think the junior tries to hop in on the tower, but you're basically in a 4v1 situation here, and you got to think, okay, here's our game plan. Here's where we want to position our guys to get this push going, because we are going to push here. And you see the Squiffer kind of work their way as far away from the objective and being helpful as humanly possible. At this point, you got to think, okay, let's put our Hydra in the position we want. Let's get our frontliners up here in the position that we want them in. Let's keep our junior on the tower. Even though this guy is behind it, this Hydra can keep an eye on it from the perchy area that they're at, and the junior can help out with bombs if need be. And then our Slayers are moving up here. If you can't do that, in my opinion, you don't need to be pushing the tower because you're not in position to do so. But once again, since since Kiwi is over here, 3 people, the Hydra, CDS, and Neo Machine, all go for this guy. None of them get none of you get the pick, and instead are pushing the tower with the junior, and the junior's like, guys, are we getting in position or not? Because if we're not, I don't need to be on this tower. Nobody kills the Squiffer, which 3 people were going for. And then to add insult to injury, you got this entire tower. Well, it was completely covered in orange until Serenity starts making their way here. Japanada's taking on a 3v1 fight here. You see the backliner, or the Hydra, on this right side, completely opposite from where the tower is. And then the one person that everyone was trying to kill ends up getting the kill on the tower. And of course, Japanada luckily gets a trade here. Is very lucky to get a trade. But the positioning here is not set up to make a push happen. But instead, instead you guys try to force the push anyways. So the reason this push in particular could have been really good. This could have been at least the first checkpoint, if not more. But because the positioning was bad, or there was just too much of a distraction with the Squiffer, this push didn't happen, ultimately got stuffed out, and you lose 2 people in the process. Not to just be completely negative, let's look at one push in particular that I think is really nice, which is not this one. Well, this one right here, if I can back it up 10 seconds. So you see everybody's position. It's great. I think this is awesome. Except for whatever the heck Serenity does by running all the way off screen here. But you got people in front of the tower. You obviously realize, okay, we got control of this area. This is good. Spectre can help keep control of this, but we're going to get control of this sneaky area, which is, I think, is very critical in getting past these next 2 checkpoints, which is awesome. Another thing I kind of like is, as you see Spectre getting blasted off there. Again, you think of the term backline. Oh, that means I need to be back behind everything. No, look where Spectre's positioning is. Spectre is way in front of the tower, right? Well, I guess more north of the tower, maybe not in front. That's more Serenity Japan. But Spectre's abusing their range as an anchor. It doesn't matter. You can be anywhere. If you're game planning, you can put the person anywhere you want them to be, but you just got to put them in a position to be successful. A Hydra right here mowing down people who have no shot of getting them is a recipe for success. And you can't just be like, oh, well, I'm the back line. That means no, you don't have to be behind. You just got to be in a position to be successful. So there you go. Those are just my general tips when it comes to game plan and positioning. So it's kind of on you guys to take this concept and look at all of those games and think, okay, how can our positioning be improved? How can it get better? Yada, yada, yada. You don't have to do this for all, 92, 94 maps, whatever it is. It's late. It's 3 a.m. I'm not going to do math. Whatever 94 maps, you don't have to go through and game plan. This is what we're going to do every single time, because you're not going to remember that, especially in a tournament. But if you sit down and you say, here's what we're going to do for Splat Zone's Art Academy, and you spend like 30 minutes figuring that out. Well, then when you look at Splat Zone's Mako Mart, it's gonna be quicker. You're gonna figure that out in like 10 minutes because you're like, oh, okay. Well, the idea is identifying a key spot we need to control, and how we're gonna control that key spot with our positioning, and then you'll get into a tournament and you're like, oh, we haven't game planned for this map, and it's like, well, whatever. We know we need to control the left stack, so here's how we're gonna control the left stack. We can figure that out in the ready up VC, things like that. Oh, the last part I will say is, if there is anything I've said that you disagree with, that's good. This game has only been out for about 5 years now. If anyone tells you that they've definitively figured out how to play this game, that person's just trying to be a know it all. We have no idea how to play this game yet. Baseball has been out for a century, and we're still coming up with new strategies and techniques of how to play baseball. But the fundamental concept of baseball, we as humans have basically figured out. Splatoon, not so much. This is all just my general opinion that adding an element of a game plan is the difference between competitive Splatoon and solo queue with VC, which is basically what you see a lot of teams play. Now, can you win playing solo queue with VC? Yes. But when skill level, when mechanical skill is a little bit even, or it's slightly in the advantage of one team or another, the team that game plans better is the team that's going to win. 100% of the time, in my opinion. And it's on you to decide what game plan works best for your team and for your comp. This isn't meant to follow my plan specifically, and you'll have a recipe for success. No, it's just a walkthrough for how you should go about formulating your own plan. I think I should go to bed now. That's enough talking.